I just wanted to share with you the business analyst workflow in a project. And this video is to help the project managers to know what to expect from a business analyst. So I'm just going to be sharing my screen now. Put this on Miro for easy access. So if I enlarge this a bit, and on this Miro board, it's got some other information for knowledge share with our business analysts. And I just put this one here for our business analysts to access for further learning and collaboration and knowledge share. But the purpose of this recording is just to be able to walk us through what the business analyst will be doing on a project. And this covers their work on a software development lifecycle or a business change lifecycle, which is the same thing, really. So further the line, it also shows what they would need to do, whether they are working on a waterfall project or on an agile project. So let's start. So when you get access to this Miro board, you just put it here that this is where you start, this is where the work starts. And at the bottom here, I also highlighted the case and what it means. Anything in blue in a rectangle shape is the activity that a BA will do, or their task on the whatever the stage of the project is. And this one in yellow here indicates a decision. This is where we stop, and then there's a decision to make or a gateway that creates a fork and then joins back towards the end as we go along in the activities. Then we have the artifact or the document or deliverable that a business analyst should be producing per project. Where you see the symbol, it means that there's a sub-process, there's another process within it. So for the purpose of keeping the process flow limited, we have bundled up a lot of other activities within the sub-process. Or it could be a process that belongs to another person or another stakeholder within the project. And where you see the symbol, it indicates data, a piece of data that will be processed, or whether it's an input or output to a particular new process. Okay, so let's start. If I go back up here, so when a BA is onboarded on a project, this indicates the start. So BA assigned to a new project. The first thing a BA will be doing is to be asking if there is a PID available. And a PID is a project initiation document. So we are hoping that the project manager would have documented a PID. But sometimes they don't have a PID ready. Let's just say it's the beginning of a project, we are just ideating at that point, nothing has been done really. But if a PID is available, the BA should study the PID carefully. And in the PID, it should be stating what the problem is, the background to the project, giving us some idea of what needs to be done. The PID is very, very high level. When we conduct further things, do some other things on the project, it might expand the PID a bit more. But for now, it's just high level. So when they've studied the PID, they will then be meeting with their PM. And if the PID is not available, of course, they will meet the PM to discuss the project. Sometimes meeting the PM could happen first before they start studying the PID. It could be that, okay, BA is assigned to a new project. They meet the PM to discuss the project, and the PM already has a PID somewhere, and then they share the PID with them to further study it. But just make sure that if a PID is available, study the PID carefully and ask questions. Now, once you've done that, meaning that the first thing you have to do on a project is meet with your project manager. They have an idea what the project is about at a high level. A lot further analysis have to be done to be able to really get to discover the problem itself, but make sure you speak to the PM to discuss what the project is all about. In the case of a project where you're assigned to, but there is no PM there yet, find somebody that will just give you an idea of what that project is all about. Now, once you've done that, when you meet your PM, we are assuming here that we have a project manager on the project, then agree with your PM your business analysis approach and discuss with them what your planned business analysis activities and deliverables will be and then give them a guesstimate. Like I said, it is not certain, so you don't have an idea how long your work will take at this point, but just give them a guesstimation. For instance, I'm going to be conducting process analysis with the stakeholders, with the business, and it might take me this so much time, and then document that. Of course, it's bound to change. We are being flexible about it because there are lots of other factors that are involved. It could be the availability of the stakeholders for you to be able to meet, and lots of other factors or resources and all that could affect your guesstimation. But just put a guesstimate there on your activity. So before you do anything at all on the project, put a plan in place. And I usually like to document my plan. We're not just talking about it. We're not just talking about, and this plan is not like, okay, now we've done the plan, it's set in stone, nothing changes the plan. No, this is not a project plan. This is just an idea of the activities you want to do on your project so that you and your project manager are on the same page. So agree what the activities will be or the proposed activities that you think might be useful for this project, and then document it. Personally, I like to use a Microsoft Planner to plan my task because I'm able to I like the Kanban board on the Microsoft Planner, which helps me to know what I need to do, whether it's in progress, if it's in review, and when it's done. So it helps me to keep track of my activities. And of course, this also helps the project manager to be able to add your plans into their own plans so that when they are creating their project plan, everything is covered there. So everybody knows what is being done, is very visible. There is transparency on the timeline of the project. So I use Microsoft Planner, like I said. I can also use Trello if it's available, or Miro. Sometimes if you have access to DevOps, we use DevOps at the moment. If you have access to DevOps and you have, you can actually create your own space within DevOps, okay? You don't have to be onboarded on the project space at that time, because the project space belongs to every stakeholder within the project. It's not just for you. So you may just want to create your own personal Kanban board on the DevOps for the particular project that you are working on, just to keep track of your own activities. Okay, so Microsoft Planner as a tool, Trello, Kanban, or Miro, or DevOps. Or if you prefer, you want to use Jira as well, you can do it. But all I'm saying is just keep track of your own activities that you have planned. You can change them in the future based on what deliverables or activities are required per project, especially once you begin to understand in full what the project requires. Now, when you have after you've conducted your plan and agreed with the PM what your approach will be and the guesstimation of the timeline, then the first activity on your plan is stakeholders analysis. So schedule a time with your PM. And if you have access to a service owner or a business owner or an SME within the project itself that has been identified, you can also invite them to the stakeholders analysis meeting. Because at that point, the project manager may not fully know everybody that will be impacted or the project will have impact on. So may want to bring in the project sponsor, somebody that has initiated that project, that has asked for that project in the first place. It could be a project sponsor, it could be a business owner, it could be a process owner within the business, okay? Invite them and let them tell you, who should I be speaking to? Who would have impact on this project? Who will this project impact on? When we are doing our stakeholders analysis, sometimes it may not be entirely visible. We could have some internal stakeholders, external stakeholders, the stakeholders that are not visible. It could be that they don't really have direct impact on the project, but in a way, indirectly, there could be an impact. So make sure after doing your impact assessment, if you can at this stage, to understand who should be brought in and at what stage of the project, depending on what approach you are using. So when you're having your meeting with the stakeholders, with your PM, analyzing your stakeholders, the deliverables, the document that you want to keep, is your Resymetrics. This is very, very, very important. And Resymetrics is once you've identified your stakeholders, you've mapped them out, you know their name, their title, what part of the business or project, what process they have a stake on, then put together a Resymetrics. Who is responsible for any activity within the project from end to end? Who is accountable for any activity from end to end? Who should we keep informed? Who should we consult? Consulting in who is a subject matter expert that will be able to add any value to our project that we should be consulting. Let's make sure you document it. And Miro is an amazing tool to do this. I usually like to do my stakeholders analysis on Miro, and it's visible. Everybody has access to it. And of course, your Resymetrics is not set in stone. It's a live document. You can always change because stakeholders change. And then after you've done this, you may want to do interest, influence, power, interest, grid as well. And this is just to help you to know how to manage those stakeholders. So remember, you're not doing this on your own. You're doing this together with your project manager. When you're onboarded on a project, you don't just jump straight into gathering requirements. You need to do your planning and also conduct your stakeholders analysis and know who they are, know how to manage them. Find out the best way to communicate with them. Is it by email? Do they want you to slide into their DM on Teams to chat with them? Do they want you to come to their office? Find out the best way to contact them. Find out how often they want to be contacted. If there are going to be meetings that will be scheduled throughout the life cycle of the project, know how often this meeting should be scheduled, who should be invited to these meetings, so that everybody is kept on the same page and you're able to manage your stakeholders effectively. And the tool for this is, well, Excel spreadsheet, SharePoint, Miro. Of course, you create the Excel spreadsheet, put it on SharePoint, and everybody has access to it. Miro as well is very, very useful, especially when you are creating your stakeholders on your own wheel. Okay. So once you've identified your stakeholder, the first meeting I always like to set up. Yeah, my PM can be there, but if the PM is not available, I like to set up a meeting, a one-to-one meeting with the initiator of the project, usually the primary service owner or the primary business owner or the project sponsor. They could be the same person. They could be a different person. It could be that, let's say, a director has initiated this project, but when the person that will be your go-to person on this project for everything could be one of the managers. So find out who that person is and sit down with them to get them to why this project, what are we trying to solve? And this is where you conduct your initial JTBD, job to be done. What job is to be done? We are not talking about the project itself here. We are not talking about the systems that need to be built. No, we are just trying to identify the problem at a high level. What is it that is wrong? What is the problem? Like, as a business analyst, you know the different techniques you can use to be able to conduct the job to be done analysis to define the problem. Anything just to be able to get to the bottom, to the root cause of the problem. And of course, it is not a one meeting thing. Of course, throughout your problem definition stage, you're still continuing to find out what the problem is. But just this meeting is very crucial. I like to hold it so that I understand the perspective of the initiator of this project. Why have they asked for this? Why the change request? What is going on at the high level? Now, ask them, are there any existing processes or supporting documents that you can use? For instance, if they say that our processes are all over the place, we have 1,001 spreadsheets that we use to manage our data. Data is inconsistent. We don't, everything is just all over the place at the moment. Ask if they have any existing processes. The way I like to approach my work is not to jump straight into solution. When we start speaking about the technology input at this point, we are solutionizing. We don't want to get to that yet because what they think they need may not be what they really need. So it's important to identify what the problem is. You may want to conduct document analysis. Once they share the document with you, if they have any existing processes that have been documented, go through their processes, try to identify any pain points. Sometimes they could have, when you're studying the documents, there may be some very visible gaps, there may be some hidden gaps, which you may not know at that point, but document all your answers from this point. This is where you begin to prepare for your workshop, for your process analysis workshop, okay? If you don't have any existing processes, okay, you may want to ask that person, okay, who should I be speaking to? Identify which process has touch point with the project you are trying to deliver. Write those processes down, identify who the process owners are, usually the managers at that level, and then set up a process analysis workshop. Sometimes the manager could be telling you, okay, you need to speak to so and so. They are the people that actually do that work. They understand the process better than I do. So ask for their name and set up your process analysis workshop per process. Not this doesn't actually cover all the business area you're working with. It's just the process owner for that particular process that has touch point with what you are trying to implement. So once you identify the setup, the process analysis workshop, and of course, you just want to understand their current way of doing things. Can you tell me what your current process are or current processes are? How do you perform your tasks? What happens? Again, this is not solutionizing. This is just understanding their business, understanding the objectives of that business, understand what they need to do, probably identify their business objectives, the KPIs and metrics that they need to deliver. At that point, what you are doing is trying to identify the gaps. Then ask them, are there any external customers touch point? Do we work with customers? How do we work with customers? Do we, when you're talking to them, sometimes it could be like our customers are actually complaining, they are frustrated because they have to, for instance, they need to submit something to us, and they go on the system and it's taking them like 3 hours to upload that document that they want to send to us. And they get frustrated all the time and they send us emails all the time. And we try to fix it, it's not done. And we are losing customers because they are not happy about the experience. Again, as a business analyst, even though you are a business analyst, you are actually a change agent. You are a user experience analyst as well. Because while we are trying to sort out the system, whatever it is that we do, we want to make sure that our customers are happy. We want to make sure that they have good experiences as well. So ask them whether our customers have any issues right now. Okay. Once we identify that, talk to them about customer journey mapping. Okay. We are trying to identify the problems here. Okay. You've spoken to us about your own perspectives. Would it be useful for us to conduct a customer journey map? Who should we be speaking to? Would you like us to speak to a few of your customers? 1 or 2 of your customers, maybe. Or maybe that person that has been sending email about the issues they've been having, would it be useful for me to have a chat with them because I want to really understand their perspectives? Could be that maybe they may need to, you conduct a remote meeting with them, they share their screen to tell, okay, I've been trying to upload this document, but it's not working. Anytime I upload, the systems crash and I have to start again. I'm trying to complete this application form and I've gone about 10 minutes into completing the application form, but before I can submit it, I have to start over again because it doesn't save as I continue. So you are getting the customer's perspective as well. And if a CJM is required, you may need to create a customer journey map. And what does that do? It helps you to identify the customer's pain points. It helps you to identify the touch point. At what point does a customer meet us, the business? When they are trying to get on our website, for instance, when they are trying to complete an application form, that is a touch point with us, right? Anytime they have a touch point with us, identify that, what channel they're using, identify that, and also helps you to understand their mood. Sometimes we need to do what we call an empathy map. How are they feeling? What are they thinking about? What are they saying? What are they saying? What are they thinking? You know, just to be able to empathize with the customers in order to be able to identify opportunities for improvement there. So if a CJM is required, sometimes it's not. Sometimes we may not have access to the customers because the process owners have direct access to the customers and they already get their perspectives and input anyway. So the stakeholders within the business can represent customers as well sometimes, and then we can also use that to create a customer journey map. So once that is done, the tool that I use to create customer journey map, of course, is a tool called Smartly. But because we don't have it here, Miro can do a wonderful job of that as well. Miro is important. It's very useful because you can, within the same board, you can have all your artifacts in the same, sitting in the same space so that you won't have to be opening different files here and there to find the artifacts and deliverables you're looking for. So you may want to use Miro for that as well. So if they have a customer touch point and a CJM is required, create a customer journey map and document it using Miro. If there is no customer touch point, of course, go on straight to map out the current state, the as-is process map. Map it out, show it to them to make sure that you've captured everything that they say this is how they work. The reason why we do as-is process map to understand the current state, because some organizations will tell you, why do we need it when we are trying to move away from the current state? It helps you to identify the gaps. You are climbing a wall using a ladder, and you're climbing it so fast, and you get to the top of wherever you're climbing and realize that the ladder itself is leaning against the wrong wall. So it's very important that we know the current state of things. In identifying what the current state of the things are, you'll be able to know where the gaps are. Okay, this is not working. Oh, why is it not working? It's because this is here. Oh, okay, because we know that this is here. If you move things around a bit, then it helps us with solution, okay? So that is why we map out as-is processes. Not that we are wasting time on the project, but it's very crucial for us to identify the problem, and mapping out the as-is helps us to identify what the problem is. We document the as-is. It may not be so detailed, yeah. Not so detailed, it's just could be a high-level process map, okay, of what the current state are. So when you've done that, you've documented, again, we use a tool called Visio to do this. Then conduct your own gap analysis. You could sit with this SME as well on your project, one of the stakeholders, if they are available, to then begin to look at the information you've captured from the customers, you know, the information you've captured from the process owners, the people actually doing that job, and then conduct your gap analysis. What is missing? What is a fit? What is a gap? The system they are using right now, at this point, you're doing a systems analysis as well. The system they are using as well right now that is not working, why is it not working? Where does things get stuck? Where are the bottlenecks? Where are the multiple handoffs? What is stopping the flow of this process, of this job? Then you identify those gaps and group them. Is it a business area? Is it something that a business will have to fix? Is it something that technology would need to fix? Is it a feature that needs to be changed within this, the system that they are currently using? So at this point, you identify what the gaps are, and then you sit down with them to map out what the future state will be. Now you know what the problem is. This is where we begin to get into solution. We are moving away bit by bit from the problem because we've now identified the problem by conducting our as-is process maps, by identifying, speaking to people, identifying all the gaps, what the problems are. Then we sit down with the business. At this point, you may need to get involved a solution architect if that resource is available. Then you begin to scope out what the ideal feature state would be. At this point, what I usually say to the stakeholders, to the user, the business, at this point is that let's imagine there is no restriction or there is no limit to what technology can do. That is, if the technology is what can fix that problem. Because sometimes It could be that they may feel that it's a system that needs to be changed, but it may actually be the process that they need to improve or change or find a new way of doing things. It may not necessarily be the system. But if it was a system, now when we are conducting our documenting our to-be processes, I usually say to them, let's imagine there is no limit to what technology can do. And then we begin to kind of create a wish list about what could be a potential feature state, ideal feature state that will help us to get our work done. Remember, while you are doing this, you are also thinking of the people involved in that job within the business, the organization itself, right? The processes involved, the information they use in that process, which is the data, and the technology that help them to do that. That is Puppet. You're looking at the holistic view of solution, okay? So at this point, you document what the ideal to-be process would be. If you need to create a use case documentation at this point, yes, go ahead and do it, because a use case diagram will help the technical teams actually understand, have an overview, a single view of what they want the new system to do, okay, or how the users will be interacting with that new system. So it gives them an idea of what it's going to be looking like with the systems boundary, the primary actors, the secondary actors, and how they connect. Whether is exception or whether is an inclusive relationship, you map those out on your use case diagram. So at this point, if a use case documentation is needed, please go ahead and do it. Sometimes it may not be needed. And the reason why it may not be needed is because if we are going agile with this, we are just creating user stories rather than creating a use case documentation at this point. Because if you create a use case documentation, personally, I like to just do a high-level use case diagram. Even if I'm doing agile with it, I'm writing my user stories later. And then my high-level use case diagram becomes my epic, and then I begin to break it further down in the future into user stories. But if it's waterfall, of course, you do your use case diagram, and then you take each use case and write your full use case documentation with it, knowing the happy part, the alternative scenario, the exception part, and documenting that. Because while you're documenting your use case documentation, it takes a while, it takes time. You're breaking it further down into each use case, while you can be spending the same time writing your user stories, right? Okay, let's move forward. So if the use case documentation is necessary, go ahead and write your use cases and create a use case diagram. If it's not, then go ahead to share the artifacts to the solution architect if they have not been part of the to-be process discovery. But if they've been part of it, they already have an idea. And then the solution architect will then start looking at the integration touch point, creating their own high-level design and things like that. Okay, so